Obi-Doo, it's everyone's favorite boomer and vintage lens enthusiast. And today we're doing a study of 17 millimeter vintage wide-angle lenses. And what we have here is we have the Canon Lens FD 17 millimeter 1:4 SSC. This is a dumb adapter for this to Sony Alpha 5000 or A5000. And here we have the RMC Tokina 17 millimeter 3.5 on it's a Pentax mount, but it's also on a dumb adapter for the Sony Alpha or A5000. Now, I went to a car show, which is a Dead Man's Curve. It was the last one they're having in Mahwah at the Sheraton. Apparently, the building's been sold, and I don't know if they're going to demolish it or remodel it or something. But Dead Man's Curve's been there for a couple of years. Oh, this is the first time I went, and they're going to have to find some other home. Now, Dead Man's Curve is one of these expensive shows. It costs $20 to get in. I went to Parsippany Hilton twice, and it was $20 back in the day. So the inflation really hasn't hit admission to upscale car shows. It was over Memorial Day weekend. That was the 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th. I went on a Saturday. I got there at 10 o'clock. It was already over 80 degrees and bright, brilliant sunlight. And I had some place to be at 1 o'clock. So I was only going to spend a couple hours there anyway. I would like to have been there longer because they were going to fire up the funny car dragsters. But, you know, it was hot, and it was too close to the time for me to get to wherever I had to go. I couldn't do it. So I just walked around. I took a lot of pictures of cars. Many of them I haven't seen before, which is always cool. And I took these two lenses because I wanted to compare them. Now, this Sony 5000, I set ISO 400, and I was still using like f11 and f16, and since it was bright sunlight, I was using a fast shutter speed, you know, 250, 320, something like that. This one, like a dope, I left it on ISO 1000. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, ISO 1000, and I'm trying to think now. Oh, this one was at 400. This one was at 1000. This is the one I was using 250 and 320 shutter speed, stopped down to f16 or f11, although I might have been wider when I was in the shade. And this one I left at 1000. I was using fast shutter speed like 1/800th of a second, 1/500th a second, f16 and f11. Now you notice I have hoodmans on these, lens hoodman. These are magnifiers for the LCD screen. Now, these cameras have really fine, high-resolution screens. And part of the problem with my photography with these things is even with focus peaking, you can't hit the exact focus. Focus peaking is sort of like a close approximation, as it were. Unless you use a Sony lens that has autofocus, then you got to use manual focus. And in bright sunlight, it's hard to tell what's happening on the screen. It gets washed out. So I went out and I bought these used hoodmans. They're cheap. Now I got both of these cameras. They're twin 5000s, but they were going like for $100 and $125 in excellent, like new condition. That was like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and they went up like $100. Do you believe that? So even with the used hoodman, say it's $35, $40, $50, I'm still ahead of the game. Now, of course, I went all MacGyver, and I jury-rigged it with stainless steel bolts and a copper strap to hold the hoodman in place. And it works really good because now I can nail the focus. And you know what? From nailing the focus, I have trouble telling these two lenses apart. Absolutely. Stop down at f16 or f11. They're virtually identical. The only difference I could see is that this one was running at 1000s and had a little bit of the grain. And the grain, you know what the grain looked like to me? It looked like the grain from ISO 100 negative film, color negative film. That's what it looked like to me. That's exactly what it looked like. This thing at 400 had virtually no grain, but the sharpness of both lenses was extremely similar. You see, before I was having trouble where I was focusing, stop down to f16 or 11, you'd nail the focus, but if you go a little bit too far, you could be one side of the depth of field or the other side of depth of field. So then your pictures had this real zone look to them with the focus. So now I was able to nail the focus exact. And these two lenses are virtually identical. They're identical in sharpness and in aberrations and in most other aspects that I could tell. This lens is radioactive. The rear element is radioactive, and it was very yellow. Then I had to treat it with ultraviolet light to clean it up. Whereas this lens is not radioactive, and I didn't have to do anything to it. This lens looks a little bit bigger to me, definitely, even though it's f4 and that's 3.5. Let's see, what about this way? They're about the same length, but this one's got a bigger diameter, definitely. This one does suffer from flare, but I got flare out of this one. I just happen to be in the right spot where the flare hit it. They both suffer from flare. If you have the sun right outside the field of view, you'll get the blobs. But that's neither here nor there. They're older lenses. They have older coatings. But in almost all aspects, they seem to be exactly even to me. I couldn't really tell the difference too much at all, which, you know, well, what's the other difference between these lenses? This costs $400 and that costs $200. I'd give this to edge. I give this to edge, the optical superiority, but only a slight edge, not a big difference, but just a slight edge. Is it worth double to get a slight edge? I don't know. I don't think so. You could have this classic legendary lens as a Tokina's sort of quote-unquote a no-name brand, as it may be, but if you were on a budget and you bought one of these Sony cameras cheap and you got used and you got a Hoodman used, I would say buy the Tokina 17mm instead of the Canon 17mm. Absolutely. Now, maybe if I was shooting more wide open, there might be a benefit to this. If I was shooting at 4 or 5.6 as compared to 3.5 or 5.6 with this thing, maybe you would see it. Maybe even if f8, you could see some differences. You know, that remains to be seen. I'm not sure. I would have to do some more tests. But as of right now, going to a car show, they both had the same 17mm look. Absolutely. And, you know, they have perspective, distortion of perspective. If you're close to the subject, the front of the subject looks big and the back looks small. Are they rectilinear? Yes, they're rectilinear. If you have stuff that's far away, like a building, and the lines are straight, of course, if you move closer, then the buildings tend to lean in, you know, because lines meet at infinity. But they both have off-axis the perspective distortion. I noticed that in both of them. It's minor, but it's there. So either one of these lenses is great. And you know what? I'm beginning to think that this 5000 is a really, really good mirrorless camera. When you got the Hoodman on it, oh, these perform really well. They're 20 megapixel, and they have enough features that you could adjust things. The adjustments are coarse, like the sharpness. I think you get 3 clicks either way, like 6 clicks total from 0 to 6, and then like the contrast or the saturation is 3 clicks either way from nominal. Now that may be the same amount as any other camera, but the other camera may give you 10, like 5 either way. So you have more adjustments. You know, like 1 click doesn't make as big adjustment on others as this does. But be that as it may, I found these to be excellent lenses, and paired with these cameras, it was really nice. Oh, and these are both can be used in FX type mirrorless cameras because they were made for full frame film. That means if you had a full frame mirrorless camera, you could still use them, right? So just think, because this is a crop sensor, well, they should be even better, right? Because you're seeing not the full circle that this thing puts out. But that's neither here nor there. Now, I could talk about it endlessly, which I'm sort of doing right now, and I'm not going to do it anymore. I think we should jump right into the pictures, and then you decide. The Canon went first, and I put the in the corner. I put the Canon 17mm f4 on a Sony A5000, and that was all the information you're going to get. Like I said, it was bright sunlight. I was using f11 or f16, and I was using a fast shutter speed faster than 250. So there's to eliminate camera shake. What else did I do? I did focus on the subject, which be in front of a car, hubcap, some detail, but I did rely on depth of field and hyperfocus distancing on some times. And what I do, if I'm at f16, I'll set the hyperfocus to scale for f11, and even at f11, I'm still getting down to 1.25 feet. So everything should be in focus. And if you look at my B pictures, which is a 1:1 crop out of the 20 megapixel, you'll see that almost everything is in focus, really. So without further ado, let's jump right into the pictures. And like I said, the Canon goes first and Tokina goes second. This alphabetical order, that's all. So let's check it out right away. Dead Man's Curve was at the Sheraton, Crossroads in Mahwah. And 2023 was the last year. So some guy at work told me about it. I never heard about it, so I decided to go. I brought two 17mm with me, the Canon FD 17mm f4 on a Sony A or Alpha 5000, and that's what we're seeing right now. And following will be shots taken with the RMC Tokina on a Pentax K mount. Completely, both lenses completely manual, and that's on a twin Sony Alpha 5000. And so what we're seeing here is some pictures are just a 16:9 crop, and others are the B. If it has a little B, then that's an area of interest, a 1:1 crop. Here's a perfect example. Here's a 1:1 crop. Ah, that's sharp. That's really sharp. Of course, it was bright sun, f11 or f16. I was using a pretty fast shutter speed. These set of pictures were at ISO 1000, and they have a real interesting film look to them. Absolutely. And there's a lot of cool cars there. A lot of cool cars there. And it cost me 20 bucks to get in, which freaked me out. But I think it was worth it myself. I went to the Parsippany Hilton when they had their car shows. And it cost 20 bucks to get, or maybe it were 10 bucks. And that was back in the 90s. So it only doubled in like 20 years. That's not too bad. What's interesting, they had like a lot of clunkers there. Like people book cars, and I guess they're going to fix them up. So you get to see like a before. I thought that was pretty cool. Wide angle lenses are good for interiors. You know, you can't open a door or touch the cars because the people freak out. But you could certainly, you know, if they have the window down, you can poke your lens in and take a picture of the interior, which the 17mm are excellent for that. Now, since it's a crop sensor lens, it would be 17 plus 8.5. That'd be like 26mm equivalent, approximately. I notice a lot of cars have these hubcaps with a hot naked woman on it. I've seen that in other car shows. They had all these weird sort of mannequins or something there too. It was part of it. A Woody, an old Woody, right? Real wood. 8 tracks. There's a lot of cool cars there. A lot of cool cars. I liked it. You know, and it was super hot. I mentioned that before. It was like 80 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was wearing a hat, and I had like a light t-shirt on, and shade was really scarce. If you were in the shadow of the building, and that's what the building looked like. This is a reflection of something, but it looked like the shape of the building, the hotel. But if you were in the shade, it was ghastly hot. I wanted to stick around for the funny cars when they rev them up, but it's just too hot and I had to be somewhere. So I think I got my 20 bucks worth. This is a B shot. This is the 1:1 crop out of a corner. And look at that, it's amazing. These lenses, they're like telephoto lenses. You know, these 20 megapixel, you could zoom up on a corner. And 1920 by 1080, what that's 2.5 megapixels, you could still make a 5 by 7 out of that if you had to, if you wanted to. See, here's a sign. This is not a petting zoo. It's a car show. Don't touch my car. Right? Punch in your face. Here's this building. It looks like a real nice building. I don't know if they're going to demolish it or not. All I know it was been sold. Although it was something before the Sheraton anyway. Maybe it'll just change hands. I don't know. I'll have to find out. These things take time, you know. Oh, and that's another thing. The parking lot looked pretty decent where they parked all these cars, but the roads around it were like almost dirt roads. It was like really weird. And it was like right off two main highways too, Route 17 and 287. There's a interchange there, and you know, they really let it go. I guess they knew they were going to sell it, because as soon as you get off the highway to go into the Crossroads, it was all like bombed out practically. So now we're in the Tokina section. Now here's an old Vet, silver. Nice looking car. All these cars are nice looking. I like them all. And yeah, there's a self-portrait of me. You'll see a lot of self-portraits of me in the chrome. And I just plop my buttocks on the pavement and, you know, get a different perspective. This guy has a rag over his intake. I guess he doesn't want bird shit to fall into his intakes or something. Yeah, some of these cars were so black that I had to like adjust the levels a little bit to bring out some detail in the black. And so I did have to adjust like the shadow detail and then compensate on the highlights a little bit. Some old Studebaker, a jacked up Studebaker. You don't see them anymore. I like these two-tone paint jobs. You know, some of them are real cherry, real cherry. Even on these close-up details, you see that they're really excellent. And here's another giant prop of a skeleton. Oh, it was really interesting. It was over the Memorial Day weekend, which started on Friday. Friday was the first day evening. A lot of people went there. A guy went there, said it was a mob scene. Did I go on Saturday? No, I went on Sunday because it was Memorial Day was on a Monday, so I went on a Sunday. And a lot of spots looked empty, like maybe people were already bailing out already, but still a lot of cars there. And it was cool because I went there right before the crowds got there. I noticed when I was leaving, because I had to go visit my buddy, and we were going to go to a street fair, a lot of people are starting to roll in, and it would probably be a mob scene. And they were hanging out in the shade of the hotel motel complex. So I just would have liked to spend more time there, but it was too hot. I had some place to go. And look at these engines. It's amazing. Look at this. Well, this is insanity. But, you know, it's pretty cool insanity if you think about it. And then here's just some stock cars all cherried out. I like those too. All this chrome. Look at this. That's amazing. That's a regular car in excellent shape. Looks like it's got stock rims, original rims on it. Why do tires need hubcaps? I don't use hubcaps. This is a nice car. I really like this car. It's candy apple flake paint. And he had these red tinted windows. And I'm beginning to think that the Sony Alpha 5000s are great cameras, especially if you have the hood man on them and you can focus on the screen better. Man, they're great. You know, and that's another thing. Both of these lenses were fine performers when you could focus them and nail the focus. Very little difference. So, and the prices, one was cost twice as much as the other. All right, I have my Canon radioactive 17mm f4 FD, and I really like it. But you know, if you're on a budget and you want to get into
vintage lens photography, you can't go wrong with the Tokina F3.5. They're available. I've seen them a couple times, and they always seem to be in the excellent condition, and they're available for like 200 bucks. This isn't 2023, so pick one up. I highly recommend it. They always have the good humor, man. Although one guy, he has a good human truck. It looks like a good humor truck, but it says good human on it instead. Here's the funny car dragsters that they fire up, but it was going to be like an hour later, and I just couldn't hang around, so I missed that. I would have shot some movies, but that's just the way it is. I'll have to go wherever Dead Man Curve is next year. I'll have to check him out, wherever that is. And here's another prop, Dead Man's Curve prop. I like this car with the checkers.